Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's good to see everyone arriving. We have a few more minutes before we're going to be getting started, Madam Chair. Looks like everybody's coming in. We have about 2 minutes to go back and grab that coffee or tea or water before we get started. Rachel, are we set to get started? It is 9:30.
We're currently live streaming on YouTube. Ready.
Okay, Madam Chair, we are recording and we are prepared to get started whenever you are.
Okay. Thank you, Virginia. So good morning and welcome to our August 26, 2026 Community Advisory Committee virtual workshop. I am Judy Pizzo, your chair of the CAC. Before I call this meeting to order, I want to remind everybody, as we are on Zoom, let's keep our speakers muted, and we'd like to see your pretty faces. Although I am a bit worried about Joe. Fortune, are you driving, Fortune? I saw that seatbelt. Okay, you're parked. Good. I was worried you were driving and listening. All right, so I'd like now call this meeting to order. I personally will do the Pledge of Allegiance, so here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and just, oh boy, I missed the whole thing, didn't I? I pledge allegiance to the flag, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And let's move on. The meeting is being held in a workshop format due to the Metroplan Orlando offices being closed to the public through the final phase of renovations. Today, our presentations are for informational and discussion purposes only. I will present any feedback received at our upcoming Metroplan board meeting. I'll now ask Ms. Whittington to do our agenda review.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members and everyone who's joining us today for the CAC workshop. As mentioned by the chair, the meeting is being held in this format because our offices are in the final phase of renovation. We do expect to be back in the office next week, so we do appreciate you pivoting to this format to help keep the wheels of transportation rolling. Our office will be closed on Monday, September 7th in observance of the Labor Day holiday. So there won't be any office tours or anything because we will be on holiday that day. Metroplan Orlando is going to be hosting the first meeting of the Central Florida Regional E-Micromobility Safety Initiative. It will be done as a roundtable on tomorrow, August 27th at Lynx. The meeting will begin at 1:30 in the afternoon. It is open to the public, and it will also be accessible by virtual by link that's on our calendar, and it'll be live streamed on our YouTube channel. So if your calendar allows, you are invited to join us in by any of those methods. We ask that you would save the date for the 2026 Blind Experience. It's going to be held on October 15th from 9:30 to 11:30 at the Winter Park Farmers Market. If you've never attended or never participated in one of these experiences, we do strongly encourage you to put this on your calendar and plan to attend. We have only heard really great things about the experience from those who have participated in some of the preceding events. Madam Chair and members, I'd like to introduce you all to Metroplan Orlando's newest hire, Ms. JD Chen. She is joining our planning team, and she is the successor to Mike Wilson, who was, remember, Mike the bike guy. JD is in her third day with Metroplan Orlando. She brings to us a strong experience in multimodal planning and project management. And in her role with us, she's going to support the safety analysis and road safety audits. She'll be helping to manage our bike and pay account program, and she's going to serve as project manager for various plans and studies. Next on our agenda, we are prepared to move ahead with the agenda as printed. There are no changes, but we would like to ask Adriana Rodriguez to bring our safety report for this morning, a safety moment, followed by Mr. Jonathan Scarf, Madam Chair and members, and then Rachel will round us out by conducting our attendance roll call, if that's okay. And with that, it is in the hands of Adriana. Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia. Good morning, everyone. School is back in session, and our safety moment today is about school bus safety. Sadly, in 2016, a fatal crash involving a 16-year-old in Fort Myers. His name was Cameron Mayhew. He was struck and killed by a driver who illegally passed a stopped school bus while the stop arm was extended. Next slide, Rachel. We're going to actually see a little more detail of this incident right now in a video news report.
5 and sad news to report this morning. A Fort Myers high school teen who was hit by a car at his bus stop this week has died from his injuries. Cameron Mayhew's family tells 4 in Your Corner Cameron was an organ donor, and his family says they are following through on his wishes to use his organs to help save the lives of others. On Wednesday, Cameron was hit while walking to the bus stop along Pine Ridge Road in Fort Myers, right at the entrance to the Coastal Estates community. The driver, 23-year-old Zachary Treenan, is facing charges of failing to stop for a school bus after police say he ignored the bus's stop sign. The driver will have a mandatory court appearance. This afternoon, there will be a gift of life ceremony at 2 o'clock at Lee Memorial Hospital for Cameron.
Hey, Rachel. Well, as you heard, the driver faced a legal process. He pled not guilty, and at the end, the penalties imposed included a 6-month driver's license suspension, a $1,000 fine, and a completion of a driver improvement class. As you can imagine, Cameron's family were not happy with the outcome of this legal process, and they pushed for changes in the legislation related to these type of crashes. In 2017, the Cameron Mayhew Act took effect in Florida. This act increases the minimum penalty for drivers who illegally pass a school bus, resulting in injury or death of another person. So right now, the penalties include 120 community service hours in a trauma center or hospital, participation in victims impact panel sessions or the approved driver improvement class, plus a 6 points penalty on the driver's license, a suspension of the license for a minimum of 1 year, and $1,500 fine. Let's take a look at the statistics in our Metro Plan Orlando region. So in the slide, in the chart, you see the crashes involving a school bus, pedestrian, and another vehicle where the bus driver had no contributing action. You see in light blue the fatal and serious injury crashes by year. In 2025, we don't have the entire year in the database, but what we have show no crashes so far involving a school bus, pedestrian, and another vehicle. For this type of crashes, the data shows that 17% of these crashes involve a distracted driver. These 55% of these crashes happen on roadways with a posted speed over 30 miles per hour, and 50% of those happen on roadways, multi-lane roadways. So when are you required to stop? In Florida, motorists are required to stop when approaching a school bus that is stopped with the red lights on, flashing, and the stop arm extended. Now, there are different scenarios. In a 2-lane roadway, such as the graphic that you see here and the photo is an example of this type of roadway, both vehicles traveling in both directions must stop. Now, in a multi-lane paved across roadway, such as the one you see here with the center turning lane, vehicles traveling in both directions must stop. In the case of a divided highway, such as the example you see here, where you have a median or some type of barrier, the vehicle traveling behind the stop bus, the vehicles traveling in that direction must stop. The vehicles traveling in the opposite direction must proceed with caution. Now, the message here is that every driver, we all have the power to prevent a tragedy. We all must stop when the school bus stops. We need to never pass a bus displaying the stop arm and the red light flashing, and we all must slow down and stay alert in school zones. Together, we can achieve zero fatalities. Here, we wanted to share resources related to this topic. We have an upcoming speaker series. You have the flyer here. On Thursday, September 3rd, this is the topic will be automated enforcement as an approach to change driver behavior and improvement safety. And one of the areas that we will be discussing and touching here is some new automated enforcement technology for school buses. And we have two other resources here. The Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles has good resources related to school bus safety tips for parents and children. And NHTSA also have some really good resources related to this topic, including a guide for planning safer school bus stops and routes, and a practice guide to reduce the illegal passing of school buses. And so you are all invited to attend our speaker series on September 3rd. And with that, the safety moment concluded. I'm happy to take any questions. We will be sharing these slides along with the resources as a package once we finish our committee cycle this time.
I see no questions for Ms. Rodriguez. That was an excellent presentation, very informative. Are there things within that you can provide to us that we might share amongst our own community?
Yes, of course. We will be sharing this presentation, as I mentioned, as a package that will include links to these resources that include items that are not only guides, but also flyers and social media that you all can use and share with your communities. So these links to those resources, you will find different materials that include educational materials as well as informative materials.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Rodriguez. Virginia, did you have more within your package, your part of the agenda?
No, Madam Chair, we are prepared to move forward, and Mr. Jonathan Scarf is up next from FDOT.
Yes, thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the CAC. Again, John Scarf with District 5, Planning Manager here. I hope that everyone had a good summer. It's good to see everyone again. I wanted to kind of bring you up to speed on some events that you might have missed. So we've already moved on to slide 2. First, FDOT hosted our construction open house on July 13th, 2026 for our State Road 426 project. The limits for this project are from South Park Avenue to North Lakemont Avenue. After more than 4 years of planning, collaboration, and community engagement, construction has begun on the State Road 426 Safety Improvement Project, bringing a community-supported vision for a safety corridor into reality. FDOT crews began construction activities on August 3rd on a 1.7-mile segment of the State Road 426 in Winter Park. This project will combine resurfacing and safety improvements to enhance traffic efficiency, to improve conditions for motorists, pedestrians, and bicyclists. So this is one of our coalition projects we've been putting together for some time. We took the opportunity to add as many safety improvements as we could, and so we're excited to see this get off the ground. Next slide, please. So next, a recent open house that we held our open house on Thursday, August 20th at the Longwood Community Building. And the purpose of this project is to enhance safety and operations along the corridor, as well as provide a rehabilitated asphalt surface to maintain the roadway. In addition to repaving State Road 434, the project will replace a portion of the two-way center turn lane with a raised median and directional openings between Shaoa Boulevard and Charles Street. Pedestrian safety improvements also include reconstructing sidewalk curb ramps, to meet current ADA standards, restore pedestrian railing, and restoring the pedestrian railing at Shayoa Boulevard intersection. The existing signals at Fountain Tree Drive and Sun Shadow Drive and at Winter Park Drive will be reconstructed and upgraded as well. Signal enhancements are also planned at other existing signals along the corridor, and the current phase is in design. I did want to point out, since these both recently occurred, if you would like to look into these projects, full details and materials on these projects, to include the presentations from the open houses, can be found on cflroads.com. And if requested, I can also share that with the MPO staff. Next slide, please. So as mentioned in our safety moment, it is back to school month, and it's that time of year when kids are heading back to the classroom, and we all need to be aware of buses picking up and dropping off students, as well as school speed zones and more walkers and bike riders on the road. Please remember to slow down and stop when required, especially on red lights. I wanted to tell you about one of our initiatives that we held in early August. Our district office and operations yards participated in the Stop on Red Week initiative. And this was to help remind drivers that red means stop, which should be known, but sometimes we need to remind them. Every day nationwide, there are on average 3 fatalities and 386 serious injuries due to motorists running red lights due to haste or distraction. So this year, our theme was Stop Today, Protect Tomorrow. Next slide, please. And Madam Chair, that concludes my updates for this morning. Pending questions, thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Scarf. Do we have any hands raised for questions? I see none.
I can't figure out how to find my little hand to raise.
Oh, there you are.
Thank you so
I don't
much.
use Zoom. I don't use Zoom very often, and I've
Thank
looked
you.
everywhere. I'm sorry.
Well, that
It's
works.
not on this one.
As long as we
Sorry.
can see your
I'm
pretty
like, hey.
faces, wave at me, and I will call on you.
There you go. Yes,
There
I
you go.
couldn't.
Good.
I
Yeah.
There we go.
I was going everywhere. So anyway, good morning. I actually have 2 questions. One's to the previous one, since we are dealing with back to school and school buses and bus safety. Is this information being shared with our Orange County School Board members?
I will need to touch base with I'll need to look at the full distro list we do have a safety second series that our safety office puts out, but I will get with our safety administrator and find out who is on that distribution list.
Yeah, it should go to the school board members and potentially Chief Holmes with district police, because the transportation, the bus presentation was really, really good. And so was your presentation, but I think it's information that they really need to know. I can forward it to them, but I just think it has a little more clout if it comes from you all. So that's what I'm saying.
Thank you for that.
And it looks like somebody else figured out how to do that.
Did you got both your questions answered then?
I'm done. I'm good.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you.
And I see hands flailing. Was there any other questions before I go to Ms. Council? Let me scroll up.
There is
I
one
see.
hand raised.
Okay, where is the hand raised? Well, that's Ms. Council. Okay.
Yeah, Ms. Council is the only one with the hand raised. And after, before we transition, maybe we can do just a really quick orientation.
I think that's a good idea. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Ms. Council.
Thank you so much. I've been trying to press this screen all the way through, trying to get the hand raised. Thank you. For the first presentation and the second one, amazing presentations. And I'm living that moment. You all know I'm on the other side, Osceola County, where a lot of people do not know how to drive very well. I would like to know, is this information being shared with City of Kissimmee as well as Experience Kissimmee for our tourism that comes here that doesn't really know maybe what the laws are here? Maybe I doubt that a stop sign on a bus would mean anything different than stop, don't go. But for the tourism part of it, they have this new QR code that they're doing with the water safety. I'm wondering if maybe we can collaborate together somehow for those that are coming in from other places. Hey, look, as well as that gate that's around the pool that's saving a life, Can you also watch out with the buses? And this means this, they're giving a discount to those people that actually, send a picture of them putting up the gate. How about send a picture for stopping at the bus? I'm just thinking out loud. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Council.
And Ms.
Mr.
Council, those
Scarpa.
are all great inputs. I will share that with our safety office here and see where we're at with that. But yes, bringing in that tourism realm is a great idea. So thank you for that.
Okay,
Yes,
and as
just
Ms. Whittington's, we have another question. Ms. Rodriguez.
no, I was just going to add that we are sharing these with all our committees, including our local partners. And we are also working to connect with other organizations. So thank you for the information about Experience Kissimmee. We'll make sure
I'd
to
love to
explore.
sit down with you at any time and give you a whole list of over here of organizations that we collaborate with, that all deal with children, parents, and things like that. Thank you.
So we always welcome opportunities to collaborate in spreading safety message with our communities. So definitely we'll love to talk to you about that. Thank you.
Yes, so thank you. Ms. Mott, did you have a question?
Negative, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. I heard some others. As Ms. Whittington suggested, let's do a quick review on how to raise hands. I know with my iPad, I have to tap the bottom of my iPad screen and the little menu bar pops up. So anybody with an iPad, that may be where you will find your hand raised feature. I don't have any knowledge of other equipment. Anyone else want to chime in?
If you're on a Mac or PC, it should be in the React section. If you click on that, there's like actual like emojis and stuff that pop up. Those will flash on the screen, but then the raise hand should be at the bottom there.
No, thank you, Mr. Rez. Okay, any other thoughts? No. All right, well, thank you, Mr. Scarf.
You have a hand raised, Madam
Oh, we
Chair.
do?
Mr. Campbell.
Mr. Campbell.
Thank you so much for that last comment, because I've been trying most of the morning trying to figure out how to raise my hand. And now I finally got it. And actually, I had a question for Ms. Rodriguez when she did the safety moment, when she was talking about the traffic going the opposite direction of the bus, being separated by a divided highway. Imagine this scenario where I'm leaving a neighborhood and the bus is getting ready to load. So it comes adjacent to the road that I'm traveling on, say east to west. And it actually stops just a little past the exit from the neighborhood. And it starts to load. And of course, the traffic behind it is all stopped. Is it unlawful to cross behind the bus to go over to the opposite travel lane?
In that scenario, I will say all traffic must stop, and because of course you're exiting in the same direction that the school bus is stopped. So the action, the safer action, to keep everyone safe will be to wait until the bus stop is done with loading, and the arm is not extended anymore. The flashing lights are not on anymore, because with kids you never know where they're coming from, or it's unpredictable sometimes. So I will say the right action is to stop and wait for the bus to finish loading the kids.
No doubt, I believe that's the right one and definitely the safest one. But I've just seen it take place so much where the cars are they're driving behind the bus, literally. So behind the bus and between the stopped cars that's behind the bus to go the opposite direction that the bus is traveling. And I've just wondered from time to time, I know people don't like it, but I wondered if it's illegal to do that. It was just a question I had.
Yes. Currently in the guidance and the information that's shared with everyone, it only includes the law for vehicles traveling in the same direction and the opposite direction, not necessarily the crossing traffic. But that's a good point to explore in terms of including those scenarios as part of the law currently for school buses. So we'll definitely keep that in mind and explore with authorities on how to handle those specific scenarios in terms of what is legal or not legal. But of course, as we want to keep our kids safe, the right action is to wait. But thank you.
Thank you so much.
That was a very good question. I have a similar situation coming out of my neighborhood where the bus stops, but it would be eastbound. And if I was to go westbound, I've always wondered, is it safe for me to go ahead and make my right turn west away from where the school bus is? But it is very close proximity to where the students were, and you just never know what a child's going to do. Thank you. That was very good. I would now like to ask Ms. Rachel Frederick to call the roll for attendance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If members can please remember to unmute before responding, and then please mute again afterwards. Ashton. Mr. Ashton?
Turn off AC.
I see you online, so I'll
Present.
mark you as present. Thank you. Bankalari.
Present.
Caesar. Jeffrey Campbell.
Present.
Frank Coleman. Nelissa Council.
Present.
Daniels Brown. Davis. Dole. Vina Dole.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know you were saying Dole. Here.
I see you, Gina. Fortune. Fortune.
He responded.
Present.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you.
morning, everybody.
Good morning. Frivola.
Here.
Grillo.
Present.
Heath.
Present.
Thank you. I see you're online. Jones.
Present.
Thank you. Morales.
Present.
Mott.
Present.
Mueller.
Present.
O'Hanlon. I see you online, Mr. O'Hanlon. Phillips. Pigram.
Present.
Thank you. Pizzo.
Present.
Ruiz.
Present.
Rum.
Here.
Salas. Dack. Webster. Wells.
Here.
West.
Present.
And White.
Present.
Thank you, members. Madam Chair, that concludes our attendance roll call today.
Well, thank you, Ms. Frederick. And next we will hear agenda items for review and discussion from Dr. Natalia Barbauer is our presenter for the next two items. What I'd like to suggest, after she presents both items, if we can do our questioning for both items at the end of her two presentations, it would help streamline things, I believe, in the Zoom environment here. So Natalia, you have the screen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, everyone. Good morning, committee members. Today, I'll have two back-to-back presentations. The first one will be about roll forward amendment, and the second one will be the amendment to the newly adopted transportation program. To remind you what the roll forward amendment is. I'm sure some of you are familiar from last year's, is a routine amendment procedure. So what that means is the projects that were not finished last year in the last fiscal year, they are rolling forward to the next fiscal year. So all the projects you already adopted in the previous years, and these are just the projects that didn't finish. And what it also means is that it does not affect the cost or the schedule of the existing projects. This is the roll forward summary of the funds that are being moved to the fiscal year 27. The highest category is regional transit of the projects that will continue, then toll roads, and then we're going to go down the list to the partner funded projects for $1 million total. It skipped 2 slides, but after I finish my second presentation, you will have the opportunity to comment on these items or ask questions. And now I will move forward to the amendment to the newly adopted transportation program that it was adopted on July 8th in 2026, so very recently. We have 3 total amendments to this program. The 2 are new projects. The first one is the Ocoee-Apopka Road widening, and it's a build grant to the city of Apopka of a total of over $17 million in federal funds for fiscal year 27 for construction. And the next portion of that funding is over $4 million in local fund for construction in fiscal year 27. You have the exact values on the slide, so I'm not going to be reading it to the every dollar value, but I'll give you the general funds. The next one will be Winter Park Drive Complete Streets Improvement for Phase 1 from Marigold Road to Seminole Boulevard. And again, over $442,000 in federal funds for construction in fiscal year 27, and over $699,000 in local funds for construction in fiscal year 27. And finally, there is a change to the existing project that was adopted in the latest transportation improvement project, and that falls under the Federal Transportation Administration, Section 5339, which is a grant for buses and bus facilities program. And that grant includes federal funding program providing capital assistance to replace, rehabilitate buses and bus facilities. And that is a total of over $9 million in federal funds for fiscal year 27 and over $2 million in local funds for grants in fiscal year in 27 as well. And again, the same request for comment on both items, the roll forward and the 3 projects to amend in the newly adopted transportation improvement program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Robauer. Just to remind everyone, if you want to unmute, if you're on an iPad, just tap the bottom of your screen and your menu should pop up, allowing you to see your raise hand feature. So any questions for Natalia? I'm seeing no raised hands. Very good. Well, thank you. That was a very quick, good presentation. We will now move on to Ms. Laura Buck, who will give a Vision Zero Central Florida status update on the ongoing and upcoming planning activities. So, Ms. Buck, you have the screen.
Okay, thank you, Chair Pizzo. Good to see all of you virtually this morning. I won't be quite as quick as Natalia was, but hopefully entertaining. I think it's been since the spring since we last did our Vision Zero update, so happy to be with you this morning. Let me click here. You might have to advance for, oh, wait, it just went. Okay, I think I'm okay now, Rachel. Thank you. So I'm going to start off with talking about our annual report. I think the last time that I was with you, we were still wrapping things up, but the annual report is now complete. This is our first Vision Zero annual report and really gives us a chance to dive into some of the cross trends, work with our local partners to see what sort of progress we're making towards our goals. So first, from a sort of high level perspective, now, I think, Rachel, you're going to have to advance for me. I'm sorry. Still working over here.
No problem.
So, looking high level, while every crash represents a profound human impact, the region is making some measurable progress, I'm happy to say. Since 2018, for deadly and serious injury crashes, those have steadily declined, with those killed in serious injury crashes decreasing by 30.3% between 2018 and 2024. All of that happening while the regional population did increase by about 10%. So we feel like that's a good indication that our coordinated safety efforts sort of across the region are making a difference. Many of you may be familiar with the Dangerous by Design report that comes out periodically and looks at those areas across the country that are particularly dangerous for pedestrians and bicyclists. And unfortunately, the Central Florida region has featured in the top 10 for a number of years. But I'm happy to report that as of the last report that came out earlier this year, we are now out of the top 20 most dangerous location for bicyclists and pedestrians. We're now at rank 25 and are one of the few places that saw a reduction in the long-term pedestrian fatality rate. So we're proud of that. Next slide, please, Rachel. Looking at some specific jurisdictional information, there were 12 jurisdictions across the region in 2024 that had zero fatalities in 2024. Those are indicated with the little heart symbols in that graphic that's on the right side of the screen. In addition to that, the towns of Belle Isle, Lake Buena Vista, and Oakland also had zero crashes where someone was killed or seriously injured. So proud to see that. And then over the period from 2018 to 2024, there was a 20.1% reduction in the number of fatal crashes and a 33.8% reduction in serious injury crashes across the region. So all a step in the right direction. Next slide, please. And looking at some of the behaviors that we see from a crash perspective, our enforcement trends were showing sort of a mixed pattern where the citations for distracted driving and hit and run offenses did decline. But on the other side of things, citations for sort of aggressive driving and then also speeding behaviors increased. But back on the positive side of things, the data showed for our impaired driving behaviors that both alcohol involved and drug involved crashes decreased by more than 40%. Next slide, please. So the positive trends that we were seeing in the crashes, we think are a reflection of a number of coordinated efforts across the region to improve safety. And so the annual report and the story map both highlight safety projects and educational initiatives that have been implemented throughout the region. You can see all of the dots that are in the graphic on the right of the slide. Each of those represents a project or initiative. And if you go to the interactive story map, which we'll have a QR code for in a few slides, you can actually hover over each and learn a little bit more about them. But the data showed an improvement in impaired driving behaviors. To gather information, we worked with our jurisdictional partners to talk to them about the projects that they have moved forward. And we really linked those projects to the crash trends that we observed between 2018 and 2024. On the next slide, please, Rachel. We highlight a couple of those projects that showed some of the positive safety outcomes within the region. This is a mix of roadway improvements, technology initiatives, educational and enforcement activities. And you can learn more about each of the ones that are highlighted here, as well as the others that were shown in the map before, within both the executive summary that has some detailed write-ups, and then through the interactive story map that's available. Next slide, please. Another thing that we made sure to take a look at as we were putting together the annual report is sort of a look forward at what we may need to be focusing on in the coming year and years to come. And so on this slide, we're showing some of those emerging hotspots throughout the region where we're going to want to maybe spend a little bit more time. On the right of the slide, you can see some of those emerging hotspots by mode, where I'll be digging in a little bit deeper to see why we're seeing an increase or uptick in crashes in those areas. And then on this slide, we have on the left QR code that'll take you directly to the executive summary for the annual report. And then for those of you who like to really dig into the data and want to get into that interactive story map, that QR code on the right will take you directly there. Next slide, please, Rachel. Okay, so next I want to get into our road safety audits. We've been very busy doing road safety audits that are being funded through our second Safe Streets for All grant that we executed at the beginning of this year. We, in the spring, kicked off a first grouping of 7 corridors and have been working with our partners from cities of Winter Park, Maitland, Longwood, Seminole County, forget a few, but the 7 that are noted here. And we did the field reviews for each of these in sort of the May-June timeframe, and then have been working with the RSA teams to identify countermeasures for each of these corridors, and are in the midst of wrapping up the documentation and putting together the concept plans for each of these. The audit process for this first grouping has identified a variety of safety improvements that will be implemented, some in the sort of short to medium term, some that are able to be incorporated into our local partners' capital improvement programs or as a part of their maintenance activities. Some of them are going to be evaluated by FDOT for potential inclusion into their maintenance bundles or traffic ops bundles. There are some others where we have ongoing design for resurfacing efforts where they're going to be able to incorporate some pavement markings and other sort of minor improvements. And then there are some recommendations that may move forward with a longer time frame that'll need to go into design or need grant funding. But we're seeing good movement with each of these, and we're really happy with the support we've gotten from FDOT and all of our local partners in completing them. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we are sort of towards the tail end of the first grouping of 7, and we'll be wrapping up documentation, we think, for most of them either next month or early October. Next slide, please, Rachel. And with that first grouping sort of moving towards completion, we are now moving on to our group 2 corridors. For this second grouping, there will be 6 corridors that we're doing road safety audits for, 3 in Seminole County. You can sort of see the corridors at the bottom there. We will have 1 in Osceola County this round. And then in Orange County, there will be 2, and they're still selecting their corridors, which is why they're not on the slide yet. But we're actively working with our partners right now to scope the what's going to happen for each of these RSAs, and we're working towards a kickoff for each of these in next month, early to mid next month. So stay tuned. And then we anticipate doing one more grouping, a third grouping of road safety audits in the spring. So more on that to come. All right. Okay. So with that, we're going to move on to our e-bike education pilot. Next slide, please, Rachel. So before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about some of the work we've been doing internally in the micromobility space. We've had our intern, Jamie, who's been with us since January, crunching data to look at really, she's been focused on the most recent full year of data that we had, bike ped crash data, and getting that into the pedestrian bicyclist categorization tool that FHWA puts out to help us understand a little bit more about micromobility crashes in our area. And so Jamie's analysis focused, as I said, on 2025 crash data, a little over 2,200 crash reports that she looked at that came out of Signal 4. And really her focus was what the data could tell us about how micromobility is influencing crash trends in our region. So her analysis looked at crashes by age group, fatal and serious injury or KSI crashes by mode, speed-related crashes by mode, and then also lateral positioning by mode. And we really looked at these variables to help us understand if and where e-micromobility crashes are differing from what we're seeing with traditional bike crashes, and then how design, educational, and policy interventions might be needed across the region. Next slide, please, Rachel. So I'm just going to provide some the high-level takeaways and sort of lead us into our e-bike pilot. So some of the things that were summarized through Jamie's findings, looking at 2025 crash data, were one, e-micromobility is actually still underrepresented in the crash data. It's still sort of an emerging mode. When you look at the crash data for e-micromobility crashes, for e-bike crashes versus traditional bike, the lion's share is still in that traditional bike, but we are seeing that uptick in the e-bike crashes. And it's, we know that they're gaining popularity just anecdotally. We're seeing them around the region more, it's showing it more in national data, and now it's showing it more in our data here in the region. In terms of that sort of lateral positioning, we're seeing that the e-bikes are going to be most likely to be the ones that are in the bike lanes, that are taking the lane, or that are on the paved shoulder. We think because those types of modes are able to go faster faster. And so they're able to be in those spaces. Whereas on the other side of things, our e-scooters are more likely to be using sidewalks or side paths and crosswalks. As compared to e-bikes, e-scooters do tend to go a little bit slower, and they also tend to be used by younger riders. So really our big takeaway from some of that information is that speed is really a big determinant of where we're going to see the different types of e-micromobility modes. And it tells us that our infrastructure needs to be able to represent or to support different speeds throughout the cross-section of our roadways, and that we have to have educational programs that are going to serve sort of the full spectrum of micromobility. Next slide, please. One of those educational programs is what I'm going to be touching on next, which is our e-bike safety pilot. As was represented in the data that Jamie was looking at and the national data that we're seeing and what we're seeing on the news and just sort of talking about anecdotally, e-bikes are increasingly popular for all users, but in particular teens. We're seeing our school districts grappling with how to manage and support use of these types of devices. And one of the things that we know about our younger riders is they tend to have little to no formal training on traffic laws, rules of the road, or even safety for the devices. And so as we've seen that uptick in usage for them, there's been a corresponding increase in sort of e-bike related crashes showing up in our hospitals and calls to our emergency services. Next slide, please. So in response to that, we have been in the midst of piloting an e-bike safety course that the American Bicycling Education Association, or ABEA, developed. The course is about 60 minutes on its face. However, with some sort of interactive quizzes in there, it's really closer to about 90 minutes. But it consists of 21 modules, and they cover things like safe usage of these types of devices, understanding rules of the road, avoiding crashes, and then how to ride in groups with friends. And so the course includes some interactive quizzes to test knowledge retention along the way. And then as a part of our pilot, we also developed pre and post surveys for the students to take so that we could have a better understanding of sort of safety awareness and attitudes towards riding before and after taking the course. And really the overall intent on our part of this pilot is to understand if this online learning opportunity is sort of the best way to get across some of this information, or if we should be looking at other opportunities like in-person education and that sort of thing. So next slide, please, Rachel. Okay, so this slide provides sort of an overview of how the pilot program was structured. As I mentioned before, it's sort of intended for teens, ages 12 to 15, our pre-drivers, if you will. So middle and early high school grades is what we were looking at. And so we initially reached out to contacts at all 3 school districts within our planning area to try and identify several target schools with a goal to get a rollout to 3 schools per county. To try and make it as frictionless as possible, we did end up transitioning the course into Canvas, which is an online learning system that all 3 districts in our planning area use. And having that course in Canvas allows teachers to deploy the course either as sort of an individual self-paced thing that students can do, or something that can be delivered during a class period as a guided in-class lesson. Next slide, please. So we launched the program back in January, and we started out by engaging the school districts at the district level leadership to try and get programmatic buy-in from leadership. And then eventually we transitioned to reaching out to individual schools and in some cases individual teachers. We initially purchased 500 course seats, and then we have sort of authorization to go up to 1,000 if we get that many interested schools and students. And so looking at our timeline that's sort of on the right side of the slide, and basically through March and April, we were working with schools on a voluntary basis. Sort of Osceola got things kicked off first. They did pursue a voluntary model where they had the opportunity for students to come back after school at Celebration and Discovery Middle School to basically watch the course and complete the quizzes. There was very limited uptake. Getting students to come back to school, I think, is kind of a heavy lift sometime. And so in Orange County, we were coordinating with Luminary Middle School, and they end up using a mandatory option where they realized that they had some time in their social studies curriculum, and so they basically just delivered it to all of their 6th and 7th graders during their social studies period in a week towards the end of the year that didn't have anything going on. And so using that methodology, that in-class, in-person methodology, they were able to get the course out to 268 students in 1 month. So based on that success story at Luminary and the fact that we still had some seats left to use, we decided that we were going to extend the pilot into the fall semester this year. And so next slide, please, Rachel. So we're now in the midst of sort of continuing on that success, and our immediate roadmap for right now has included continuing to lean on that in-class Canvas delivery model. And so for the upcoming fall semester, we've already reached back out to Luminary Middle School and Timber Springs Middle School, where we'd actually already had them configured and just ran out of school year with Timber Springs. So we're reaching out to them to see if they'd like to redeploy. We're also have re-engaged both Osceola County and Seminole County to try and get this into schools there, offering that self-paced Canvas approach as well. Then we're also reaching out to contacts at Florida Virtual School, the All-Stars After School program with the City of Orlando. And so the intent is to continue to do that outreach, and we're going to make this available basically through the end of October is where we're trying to have all of the testing complete so that we have a little time so that we can do our analysis and be ready to report back to our board and committees by the end of this year. So there will be more to come on what our overall findings are from the program, but continuing our outreach for now. Thanks, Rachel. All right, so then I just wanted to end with a little bit discussion about some other ongoing activities that the safety team's busy working on. We have developed a before and after evaluation scope for safety projects specifically, and we're actually going to be piloting that scope of services now with 3 projects, 1 in each county in our planning area, to see how well the scope of services allows us to understand what is really gained in terms of knowledge and outcomes from different types of projects, and see if we need to tweak the scope at all. So more to come on that. We're also working on developing some policy and design guidance for a number of design elements and policy elements that our local partners have told us they would like some guidance on. So we're working towards developing that. Will end up on a sort of a separate web page under our safety page in the coming months. So more to come there. We're just about to kick off an effort to look at providing some additional guidance on implementing safety and maintenance of traffic guidelines. We find that a lot of times with that maintenance of traffic, some user groups, sometimes bikes and peds, are maybe given short shrift or forgotten, and we just want to make sure that we're all thinking about that as holistically as possible, even as we're in the midst of construction. So that is coming. We will also be kicking off another sort of data analytics task coming up soon, where we'll be looking at crashes near our high usage transit locations, that's high usage routes, as well as stops, and also in areas where we know we have significant unhoused populations, just to see what types of crash trends we're seeing there, that there are different particular types of crashes that we need to be addressing in those types of contexts and what we can do there. And then we're also kicking off our next white paper. Natalia is actually going to be leading this one, and it's going to be focused on speeding. So we will keep you up to date as that's getting ready to come out. Next slide, please, Rachel. And Adriana also already mentioned this, but we do have our next safety speaker series webinar coming up next Thursday. Encourage you all to watch. I think you all were enthralled with Adriana's safety moment earlier about automated enforcement. So we'll have actually a little bit on bus cameras there, but also looking at automated enforcement in school speed zones, and then speeding cameras that are used, not that one's from out of state because we don't have any speeding cameras in our region, but how we can use that type of automated enforcement to make things safer. So encourage you to join us if you're able to join live. That's great. If not, this QR code will also always take you to our Vision Zero playlist, which has all of our past safety speaker webinars. So if you can join us, please do. And with that, I think that's my last slide, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Goodness, that was a lot.
Always.
Great presentation, Ms. Buck. I just want to address real quick in the webinar chat that Mr. Mueller had asked about the Orange County Public Schools. Was it true that they had banned motorized vehicles for lower grades? And Ms. Dole, thank you for responding. That is affirmative, but it goes into force September 1st for students without licenses.
Yes. I believe it's actually after Labor Day, isn't it?
After Labor Day?
I believe it's after Labor Day.
Oh,
yes.
Did they extend it? Okay. I had heard it was the 1st, but what the problem was is they voted to do that, to ban the motorized bikes and scooters on campus. However, we didn't have any discipline policies in place. So that gave us time for them to get accustomed to it and for us to be able to get our procedures and how we're going to address these infractions now and what level they'll be and, how many times and all of that. So that's kind of been a heavy lift. So if it's after Labor Day, then it's after Labor Day. It just gives them a little more time. But
Okay.
I had a quick question, but it's more of a it's a question. So I was looking at some of the laws because I get frustrated at 6 a.m. when I have runners running in the middle of the road. I live in a very busy area of Winter Park. So we have scooters, bikes, everything, runners running down matter of fact, I backed out of my driveway today and there was a runner right in dead center of the road. So I did look up the statute on when you can run in the road. And basically you're supposed to run against the traffic and you're only supposed to do it if there are no sidewalks. So I only know this because I looked up the statute. Most people don't look up statutes on bikes, e-bikes, motorcycles, pedestrian. Like, what are those statutes? Is there any plan to do PSAs? I know they're kind of old school, but they do get out snippets of information that are important.
That's a great question. There are already some local agencies that are putting out those sort of PSA type messages over their social media. One of the things that Virginia mentioned earlier is we're going to have this regional micromobility roundtable tomorrow. I think talking about some sort of coordinated outreach efforts is one of the things that we'll be getting to sort of as a region, making sure that we are all building on the messaging for one another, because you're right, it can be confusing. And right now, not every ordinance is the same throughout the region. It's go from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. And so I think one of the things that we need to work on as a region is making sure that we're messaging consistently.
Right. And with state law, because I looked up the state law, that's a state law. So that would supersede an ordinance, I believe.
Exactly.
But I travel all over this county. And the other day, I just, you would not believe the behaviors I see. I mean, it's incredible. And it's bipeds and motor scooters. Matter of fact, I'm thinking about keeping a journal because some of them are so outrageous.
Okay, Ms.
So,
Dole, let's get back
Excuse me? I was going to say that's just a PSA would be really good.
Okay.
To educate people.
Trying not to get into a conversational mode. I want to remind everyone to use your raise hand feature if you have a question. For those that, again, if you've got an iPad, just tap the lower screen and you should see your raise hand feature. If not, turn on your video and wave at me so I can see that perhaps you are trying to get a question answered. I do not see any questions for you, Ms. Buck. That was an excellent, Ms. Mott. Was that a yes? Okay.
Madam Chairman, that's not Teresa Mott, it's Miss White.
Oh, Ms. White.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. White, I don't see you.
Yes, thank you.
There you are.
Thank you for recognizing me. Laura, excellent presentation. I'm all things public health, wishing us the best for the meeting that's scheduled with Sanford Middle School on Friday. So hopefully that's going to put us in your next presentation. But just, do you have any other Seminole County contacts in the pipeline right now?
I don't think so. As you know, we're meeting with Sanford Middle School, but no, if you have any contacts that you want to send my way, please do. That would be great.
Okay.
None that have borne fruit, I will say. There are a couple we've reached out to at the district that we haven't heard back from, but if you have any specific schools or teachers that you want to share, that would be great. Thanks, Bernice.
Alrighty, take care. Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Ruiz, I see your hand is raised.
Thank you. And again, great presentation. Very informative. I love getting into the nitty-gritty of things. Just one thing for Osceola specifically. I happen to live in like the city of Kissimmee limits, and where I am, I don't want to say it's walkable, but there's paths, like bike paths and stuff that people take all the time. And a lot of the kids will take the paths to school, which is great because then they're on their bikes or on their scooters. It is what it is. And the two schools that are, I think, within the bounds of doing that I see a lot of kids walking to is Kissimmee Middle School and then Osceola High. And I think those would be good ones to reach out to because they're the ones that I see people walk to the most. Kissimmee Middle School specifically is almost directly in front of one of those paths. And I see some of the kids, they see that large open stretch of bike path and they just rip down it. So if you're looking for more schools to reach out to in Osceola County, I would say Osceola High and Kissimmee Middle. But again, thank you for the awesome presentation.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
All right. Seeing no other hands raised or flailing fingers trying to get my attention. Thank you again, Ms. Buck. That was a very good presentation. I look forward to hearing more on that topic. There are several general information on, excuse me, items found, excuse me, in section 3 of your agenda, and a list of upcoming meetings of interest is provided for your information. The next meeting for CAC is October 28th. We are skipping September. So October 28th, we will be back in person in the Metroplan, goodness, Orlando boardroom. I'm looking forward to seeing the changes. We are now at member comments. Are there any committee members who have any final comments? Please raise your hand. Okay. Seeing no hands raised. Up, good. Jeffrey Campbell, I saw you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a question. Ms. Whittington had mentioned earlier about the 2026 blind experience. She said it was on October 15th, and it was at the Winter Park Farmers Market. I missed the time that it's going to take place. And my question is, do you have to sign up for that? Can you bring a guest, your spouse? I haven't done that. I'm interested in doing that.
Thank you so much for asking that question, Madam Chair. Am I okay?
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you for asking that question, Mr. Campbell. Yes, it is held October 15th, 9:30 to 11:30. And yes, you are able to bring a guest. We like to know how many are going to be attending. However, there is not a strict, yes, you need to RSVP. But, if you're planning to come, please do let us know. And we're
an email already. How do we reply?
The information is coming out. That was a save the date since we're not together again until the end of October, but you will get an invite. Yes.
Very good. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for that clarification and additional information. This now brings us.
Ms.
Okay,
Mott
wait
has
a
her
minute.
hand raised.
Teresa, you have a question. Thank you, Ms. Mott.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you. Madam Chair, we do such good timing with our making the deadline for our meeting, and you do good on that. And it's 10:30 right now. I'd be very interested to hear the continuation of what the points that Ms. Dole was sharing. We have time.
Okay, Ms. Dole.
If she cared to continue.
Would you like to continue on your points?
Well, no, it was just regarding PSAs because we focus a lot on vehicle safety and what vehicles are doing. But what I'm seeing is it's mostly pedestrians, people on scooters, people on bikes who are doing unsafe things that are creating an unsafe atmosphere for people in vehicles. And I think if people knew what the law was, they would be more willing to adhere to it, especially parents, because the behaviors I'm seeing are super crazy. It's almost like when Orange County voted to not have bikes on campus, they can still ride them, and it's almost like they've doubled down. And the behaviors are outrageous that I'm seeing because I'm in a traffic area going to by Audubon K8. I literally had a bike come up behind me, an e-bike, doing a wheelie behind my car all the way for like 3 blocks. When I stopped at the red light at the intersection, it stopped, went around me into the other lane, and went in front of the driver in front of me. That was like if the driver in front of me had moved forward, as we do when we're at a stoplight, we're inching up sometimes, that bike would have been hit. So it's those kind of behaviors. And I think if parents knew what the actual law was and that they're responsible for it, as far as minors go, it would help them. Plus, as adults, if I know how to run safely. I'm a runner, so I know when I can run in the road and how to run in the road and to keep myself safe and to keep other cars safe. So that was my only point.
No, those are very valid points. We have that problem up here in the Wakaiwa area where I live.
Sure, it's everywhere.
I see a hand raised here for Mr. Pigram.
Thank you for sharing that. That concludes my comments, and thank you for honoring my request, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Mr. Pigram.
Good morning. Just regional update. I know previous meetings there's been concern about Brightline and Brightline's long-term solvency with their carried debt. Since the last time we met, there was some federal news that the federal government is awarding a significant amount of funding towards two Brightline related projects. So the city of Cocoa and Brevard County got $57 million to build a station along the Brightline corridor in Cocoa, looking for that to open in 2030, 2031. So the federal government is paying a portion of that project, but Brevard County and Cocoa are also contributing to that. And then further beyond our corridor, there's a major bridge replacement. It's a 100-year-old bridge that is shared by Brightline and Florida East Coast. It's a single track bridge down at St. Lucia. So it's a siphon in the corridor. So if you have one train that gets delayed, everything else delays and it impacts travel times. That's a $262 million project, and the federal government just awarded another $80 million for that. So exciting to hear the additional federal funding that's going towards that strategic intermodal system. So just wanted to provide that update.
Thank you for that. Mr. Mueller.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. I'm outside, so I hope it's not too noisy, but I just wanted to comment on the e-bikes and what Orange County Public Schools did. You know, I got mixed feelings about that because on the one hand, I absolutely understand the safety component of this and how critical it is to protect the children and make sure people are safe. And I completely understand the wheelie comment and the fact that a lot of these e-bike riders are not very responsible in how they go. But on the flip side of it, you know, this is I live right near UCF and you don't see any pedal bikes on the road anymore. They're all scooters, e-bikes, and any form of motorized transportation that can go down the road. And it's a transportation method now. It's not a recreational activity. It's students getting to work and school and wherever they need to go using these modes of transportation, which compared to a car are absolutely extremely inexpensive to operate. I ride one myself to work every day. So you know, I see the safety issue, but on the other hand, I think Orange County Public Schools got it wrong on this. I think that they should be trained to use these devices because they're not going to stop using them. And there's also the who it affects the most. And I think, you know, if you have a family that's living within 2 miles of a school and they both parents work because they have to bring in the money to afford to live these days, and they give their kids scooters to get to school, and that's really the only way they can do it. And now what happens in that situation? So I think marginalized communities are going to be impacted dramatically by this, and I just think there's another solution. So that's just my 2 cents on the whole issue of motorized vehicles, because they are a form of transportation now. And I just wanted to put that out there.
That's a very, very good point. It actually reminded me, I have a local elementary school, Wakaiwa Elementary. They do a yearly bike rodeo, which for the elementary students, it teaches them about bike safety and wearing the helmets, how to properly wear a helmet. And it was interesting that that's the only school that I'm aware of that actually teaches bike safety, and I could be wrong on that. I see no other hands raised or comments, so this brings us to the opportunity for public comments. Comments heard at this point in the meeting are general in nature. Members of the public joining us who wish to speak should raise the hands feature on the Zoom screen. When you're called, staff will unmute your microphone and will ask you to state your name and contact information for the record. Ms. Rachel, is there anyone wishing to make a comment today?
Madam Chair, there are no hands raised online, and we did not receive any comments in advance of the meeting.
Well, thank you. If there is no further business, our meeting is adjourned. I want to thank everyone for participating today. Have a good week.
Thank you. Good meeting. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.